Happy Hanukkah, Anthony Melchiori.
To all my Jewish brothers and sisters, happy Hanukkah.
Thank you.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality.
You know, I think Adam Sandler, when he was singing the Hanukkah song, and he said, "One fine-looking Jew," I think he was talking about you, my friend.
Aw, thank you. I'm just happy that I learned that Harrison Ford was 1/4 Jewish in that song.
Yeah. Well, happy Hanukkah, my brother.
Thanks, because Hanukkah is such an important holiday. It's not really in the pantheon of Jewish holidays. This is not one of the important ones, but what is important is that my mom's coming over Saturday and we get to make some potato pancakes and complain about how we only do it once a year and how we should do it more often. So I look forward to that ritual.
Aren't they potato latkes?
Latkes, yes, that is correct. But
so let me ask you a question before we start the show. Why are you standing on a staircase in the hotel?
I am not at the brand new Atwell Suites brand from IHG, which is going to be coming next year. Let's take a step aside so we can take a look at it. Broke it into a couple of different components. It looks like one is for work, one is more geared towards play. But we've got Karen Gilbride, who runs that brand, along with the Avid brand, coming on any minute now to talk to us more about that.
So, my friend, I sent you a article, or you and David, our producer, an article yesterday, and said I wanted to talk about it, and I can't remember what it was. David,
Hey,
you have it? What's that? But man, it's interesting. We're at a point where we're in December 10th today.
Mm-hmm.
Is today December 10th?
Yep.
So we're at December 10th, and we're at the worst point basically in what's going on, and we're at the worst point at the financial crisis in our industry so far, and we're at the best part and the freshest part and the most exciting part of what it's been like for the last 8-9 months with the vaccine about to come out. So, or it's come out in London already. So it's such a weird thing. It's like I'm drinking like warm Pepsi or something. It's like, oh, I'm drinking a soda, which I don't really drink often. What I do is a treat, but it's warm. So it's kind of, I'm feeling very weird right now. And then you go online and you see all this ridiculousness, what's happening with the election. It's just crazy. It's like half my body, I'm really, really happy. And like then I'm like, what the hell's going on? I'm confused, Glenn. Unconfuse me.
I understand you're confused, but you will not feel confused by the end of this. Maybe just drink more heavily. Forget the soda. Just go for that bourbon. Go for the scotch. Maybe a little of that Johnny Walker Blue. That'll make all of your pains go away. But it has been a difficult time. But one person who has been helping us see what the reality is in hospitality is our good friend, CEO of Chesapeake Hospitality, Chris Green. Let's say hello to Chris. Chris, how are you, sir?
Hey, guys. Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Wow, your energy and enthusiasm is overwhelming today. I think I need to.
Sorry, what do I need to do? Hey.
Glenn, can you do me a favor? Glenn, can you take him out? Take him out, please. Take him out.
Let me do it again.
All right. So who's on the show today, Glenn? Is Chris here?
We have Karen Gilbride coming up in just a minute, but before we bring her on, let's bring to the show the one and only CEO of Chesapeake Hospitality, Mr. Chris Green.
What's up?
Excellent. So great to see you. I stepped on my headset, so I've lost all of my
sound.
Chris,
it's a pleasure to see you, my friend. And what is it like? You know what? I'm going to ask you about your family. I'm not going to ask you about work. I'm going to say, how's your family doing?
They're doing good. My daughter has experienced knee surgery. She had to have her ACL and her meniscus repaired the other day from playing ultimate frisbee. So that was exciting during the COVID era, trying to get some surgery done and get in and out of doctors. So we're dealing with that, but everybody's doing good. My wife is ready for me to get back to what I do all the time. And so, just because my family after 30 years has become ingrained in hospitality too. So they love what we do. They love seeing the growth in the company. They love seeing new hotels.
And they love you out of the house, basically.
I was trying to avoid saying that, but that might be true too. So.
All right. So, hey, I want everyone to forgive me, but I've got to do a quick show note real quick. Chris, just hold on 1 second. Would you?
Go ahead.
All right. I want to thank Best Buy Business for being a supporter of our show. We really appreciate you being here. And I'd love to encourage all of you to go to bestbuy.com/hospitality. Why? Because their business project managers will coordinate everything you need for product installations, totally hassle-free. They'll come in, they'll put up the new stuff, take up all the old stuff out. You got nothing else to worry about. go check it out at bestbuy.com/hospitality. All right.
And you know what I love about them being a sponsor? I love the fact that it's like a new business to me. Like I didn't know that it existed. So
Right?
again,
Yeah.
I love that they're our partner.
I'd be
So
on,
Chris Green, we're gonna
lookout at No Vacancy News today for a special video that I did with Best Buy explaining how all of their services work. That'll be out next week. Sorry, Anthony, back to you.
No, I was going to say this is first. We're going to bring Chris Green in for the third time.
Hello. Hi, everybody. How are you today?
So your daughter's knee surgery. Hope she's recovering well. And what else is going on in your neck of the woods, Chris Green?
Trying to prepare for the holidays, right? I mean, I love this time of year. I would normally, I mean, it's hard for me to separate business and personal, but we're normally getting ready for the mass onslaught of all the holiday parties going on in all the hotels, which is always so fun. But this year's different, right?
Yeah.
So we're getting ready, personally to have kind of a small, quieter holiday season and get ready for 2020 and a half, which I think that's what's going to be like in the first few months of next year.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's good. That's a good point. I haven't heard anybody say that before, but that's like 2020 and a half is going to be maybe January, February, March. And you know what I'm going to practice during the holidays? I'm going to practice my hugging. I'm just going to start hugging trees and like hugging like
Anthony.
and then I'm
Be careful, Anthony. If you hug too many trees, you're going to be accused of being a liberal leftist.
No,
you know what, guys?
Practicing my hugging.
Listen, the thing is everybody's always starting to, I can't wait till 2020 is over. And man, I think we're not going to really be over it with 2020, kind of the feeling of 2020 until after, March, April, May, I'm hoping. So we're going with 2020 and a half right now.
It's going to be, the world is going to be pre-2020 and post-2020.
Yeah.
And it's like when the kid's like 20 years old, 20 years from now, and it's like, oh my God, I can tell you what it used to be like, right? It's going to be that touchstone. And you don't really want to live through those touchstones, 9/11, and I didn't live through Pearl Harbor, but those, the Depression, the Spanish flu, and we're living through one of the tent poles of of not only our lifetime, of the world's lifetime.
Hey, lucky us.
Yeah, history. Yeah.
You know what? In some sense, like, yes, it's horrifically tragic, and we don't have to go through that. But why not us? Our ancestors gone through a lot of crap. Why not us?
Right. Yeah. Hey, you guys, I wanted to congratulate you. I've had a little bit of spare time this week, and I watched a couple shows, and I'm really proud of what you two have continued to do through this, and want to thank you personally for your advocacy for our industry. I listened to John Bortz on Tuesday, which I thought was fascinating. And today you've got one of my really good friends, somebody I've known a long time, Karen Gilbride. She's a staple at IHG and has been a longtime performer. So to continue to bring great guests like this to the travel and tourism population is just a value that we all didn't even know we necessarily needed, but we do. So thank you.
Chris, can I admit something to you? Right before you got on, I was like, I hope Chris Green saw the shows this week because they're so good, and I hope he says something like he really liked them. I swear to God, I really did. I was like a little kid. I was like, I hope Chris Green liked the shows. But you know what? Our next guest, I'm a little upset with her because you know what she said?
Uh-oh.
She said something that really bothered me. She goes, "If you don't like Chris Green, I just don't want to be a part of your life." Everybody, who doesn't like Chris Green? So without further ado, Glenn.
All right, let's bring her in right now. Karen Gilbride. She is over at IHG, and she runs both the Avid brand and the forthcoming Atwell Suites, the one right behind me right now. But before we get into you, Karen, don't forget on Monday we've got an incredible job fair that's going on. Chris's company is taking place. Chesapeake Hospitality is participating in it, as well as a number of other companies such as Turning Stone Hotel and Casino, which actually has so many jobs, they're willing to pay for people to move there from other parts of the country.
Wow.
So lots of opportunities out there, but be sure to tune in. Speaking of opportunity, Atwell Suites creating brand new opportunities for owners and guests alike coming next year. Karen, great to see you. Welcome to the show.
Oh, hi guys. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I mean, I was thrilled to wake up this morning and know I was talking to Anthony and Glenn, but Chris is a welcome surprise and someone I haven't seen in a while, but we've worked together a lot over the years. And so appreciate the kind words too, Chris.
Absolutely.
It's really amazing what a small world our industry is and how everybody seems to know each other. I had no idea that you folks had this relationship, so that's really cool. I think the best place to start, Karen, is let's talk a little bit about Atwell Suites. First of all, what is it, and why are hoteliers and guests going to care once it makes its debut?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so happy and excited to talk about Atwell Suites. I love that you are physically in our lobby space right there, kind of virtually. I'm actually out at our IHG Design Center, which is a warehouse that we have outside of Atlanta where we physically build all of our prototypes. So I am sitting inside an Atwell Suites King guest room. So when we go on the virtual tour later, you'll get a chance to kind of see that as well too. But Atwell Suites is IHG's newest mainstream brand that we brought forward. So we launched this brand in May of 2019, went on sale. We've got 20 executed licenses so far for this brand. Our first property is under construction in the Miami Brickell area, a super vibrant neighborhood. And that project is due to open in the second half of next year. And it's actually a really interesting project in that it is an Atwell Suites on the top floors of that building, and on the bottom will be a brand new Hotel Indigo brand coming to life as well too. So a great way for those two brands to come to life in a really awesome market. And so, you know, we're excited for that.
And that seems to be the trend, right? Putting 2 or 3 products in one building. And I want to back up a little bit. Off camera, I asked you kind of where does this fall within the brand? And I opened up the first, as I told you off camera, I opened up the first IHG in Times Square, the first urban.
You mean a Staybridge?
Staybridge Suites, first Staybridge Suites in an urban market. So I know IHG very well. I'm, like I said, I got thrown out of headquarters, so I'm still not allowed in. But
choice.
but I love them. I love IHG. I love how you guys work. It's one of the brands that is very structured but unstructured, meaning there's room for creativity. There's room for questioning a policy or a brand standard. And it's the first brand I've worked in where I'm allowed to push a little bit. I get pushed back on, but there was a lot of conversation, and you guys entertained me a lot. And I really appreciated that. So why is this hotel, or how is this hotel different than a Staybridge Suites, which I absolutely love?
And that's a great question. And I think, you know, taking a step first of all, I really appreciate the comments that you're saying about, you know, IHG Hotels and Resorts. And so having been with the company for 20 years and really kind of seeing that, I what I'm hearing you also say is that something that's really important to us is how we engage in open dialogue and communicate with our owners and our operators, right? Trying to understand what's working and what's not working so that we can really optimize against that. So that was in the fabric of our DNA before COVID, but honestly, it's had to be really at the forefront now. Is just how do we make sure that we're partnered together to make sure anything we're doing makes sense from a guest and a brand perspective, but also from an owner perspective. And so
let me jump in. What you're saying over there. I've been to the design center along with owners of properties and potential investors in the properties. You really take a lot of care to plot out everything before that first shovel hits the ground. So I'm sure with Atwell, you had lots of owners and management company CEOs such as Chris and other people come through to really share what they think is going to connect best with not just owners, but customers in the future.
Yeah, so I mean, I think, you know, thinking back also to what Anthony, I want to make sure I answer Anthony's question too about where this fits and why this brand. So, you know, whenever we look to consider bringing another brand into the portfolio, so IHG, 16 brands in our portfolio today, but making the decision to bring a new one, we really have to step back and understand, is it the right time? Is the demand there from a customer perspective? And also, is the demand there from an owner perspective? Again, that partnership, when we think about, you know, we really do have two customers, you know, the guests and also the owners who are building these hotels each and every day. And so thinking about Atwell Suites, we did extensive research to understand, is there a demand in the market for an all suites upper mid-scale product? And what we found was really a sizable target of people who were saying, there are options out there in this all suites category, but none of them are really resonating for my exact needs and for what I'm looking for. And so knowing that IHG, we do really well. Our strength, lean into your strengths. Our strength is in mainstream, and we know that we can deliver well in this space. So it felt like the right time for us to develop and launch Atwell Suites in the space. The all suite segment is growing. I mean, this is an $18 billion segment. It's grown over 70% in the past 4 years. And so this was a good time for us. And so once we know we're going after that space, then the fun really starts from a brand perspective, where you are really getting under the skin of the guest and the consumer, and what do they want from that experience. And so, we do that in partnership with our owners also. So for both, it was a process we did for Avid Hotels in building that brand. But we also did it for Atwell Suites, where we get a group of about 6 to 8 really, owners that know our brands, build our brands, also build the competitive brands, right? They're seeing what's out there. And we bring them into the brand development process from day one. So we're not waiting till the end to have a big reveal and say, this is the brand. From day one, they're helping us co-create to make sure that we've got the guardrails right, so that when we come out the back end, it's going to hit the build cost that they need for this to perform. And it's delivering against the needs for the consumer. And so for Atwell Suites, our owner advisory board, they flew to New York with the team, meeting guests, understanding what they want, getting in the mindset of who is this guest. And we call the guest for Atwell Suites an opportunity seeker. Think about somebody who wants to get more, learn more from every stay, every day, learn and grow. And what they told us is right now the options in the mainstream suite space for them, they didn't really hit on what they needed. They gave them functional benefits, but they also were looking for a sense of design and style that they sometimes had to trade off when they were looking for that, and not with Atwell Suites. So it's a design-led brand that delivers the functionals, but also make sure that they get that memorable experience that they're looking for.
I'm so glad you explained that and how deep you guys go to build a new brand, because the worst words in the English language right now is we're building another brand. Those are words that make us all real nervous. It's like saying I got to sign a contract with a third party. It's like, they're building another brand. So I think it really helps me and other people understand that there's a reason to build it. And when I look at what I see behind Glenn, and I'm sure we're going to go through a tour right now.
We are in a minute.
It reminds me of something that's a lot fresher and almost something you see in those those shared spaces. What's the word I'm looking for?
Co-working.
Yeah. It almost reminds me of that. So it's still a hotel, it's still a suite, but you've kind of brought that in. Was that kind of top of mind?
Yeah. So when we, again, in talking to the consumers, what they told us that they needed, what they were really looking for, and what we delivered through our brand differentiators is they want flexible and enriching spaces throughout the hotel. So this brand also, if we think about how long, what are people trying to use, how are they using this space? We've built it to be for what we call longer stay. So up to 6 nights. So this is guests who are traveling for a couple of days at a time, but not weeks or months. So to your earlier point, Anthony, about, well, what about Staybridge Suites? What about our other products in that space? We have best-in-class extended stay brands in Staybridge Suites and Candlewood Suites that really serve the needs of somebody who has a longer stay. I want full kitchenette. I want outdoor spaces that allow me to get out. I might need meeting space. For the Atwell Suites guests, it's a longer stay. So up to 6 nights. So it can certainly be transient, a couple of days, but it really might also be that 4 to 6 nights. And so they said for that type of travel, I am going to need some spaces where I can work and collaborate and connect with others outside of my guest suite. And then I'm also going to need my guest suite to give me, again, some space where I can work, take calls, do different things. But I don't need a full kitchenette. And you'll see that when we jump into the tour. So we're excited about where that's going.
All right, now before we jump into the tour, I want to get Chris's opinion. Chris, I don't know how familiar you are with Atwell, but I'd love some context about how maybe you've been engaged by IHG or some other company that doesn't exist as far as we're concerned today, about how you go through the process of being asked what your opinion is on what you might need for the development community.
So I thanks for the question, and I want to stay on IHG since Karen's on today, and I will commend IHG. They very are owner centric. They focus on what the owners need. They don't, as you can see, I mean, there are some companies that have 30 brands, 30, 40 brands. And IHG, I think, has worked really hard to focus in a particular segment and then find out what's working and what's not working and then attack that. Jen Gribble, who Karen works with, is somebody I've known for a long time. They're both on the Avid brand, and Avid too has taken off. I don't know all the numbers. I know they've had a lot of signings with Avid when it launched.
Mm-hmm.
And then Atwell, I remember when we toured the Atwell, the initial kind of phase suite. I can't remember when that was. It was at a conference somewhere.
About a year ago.
Yeah. A year and a half, I guess now,
Oh,
right?
it's probably probably. I was thinking maybe it would be around a Hunter conference, but probably.
And I remember thinking how well thought out it was, and how well done it was, and how it did fit a particular niche that wasn't being attacked. And I think you're going to see success in this area. But listen, we all there's a lot of brands, and if it doesn't have a value proposition to owners, like Karen said, if you can't get in at the right per key cost, all-in cost, and it doesn't pencil out, it just doesn't work. But IHG is really strong, and I in the middle brands, right? The mainstream, like Karen says. And so if you're going to hit that middle target ADR band, and you're going to participate in that space, then IHG is one of the brands you have to be doing business with.
All right, awesome. All right.
And I just want to underline what you said before, and I'll say it again. The people at IHG, I have long-term friendships with those people, and they're so talented. Outside of a guy named Tim Riley, they're so talented. I'm just kidding, Tim. I love you. You know I love you. He's the best.
All right, producer Dave, you've got your warning. So we're gonna do a tour. I'm giving him the warning to bring up the PowerPoint that we're gonna go through here,
Yeah,
so people can get a better understanding of what this brand is about. Now, for all of you people listening on the audio feed, we apologize. We'll try our best to use our words to describe what we're seeing, but I highly encourage you to check out the video of this. Go to novacancynews.com. You could watch the video there. And for those of you who are watching video that aren't subscribed to our audio podcast, go to either Checking In with Anthony and Glenn or No Vacancy with Glenn Hausman. Subscribe wherever your platform is and go with it when you walk the dog. All right, so what are we looking at here? This cool design center that I've been to.
Yeah,
I love this.
so not into the tour yet, but let me just step you through a couple of these kind of pictures. So this is where I physically am today, inside our IHG Design Center. So 40,000 square feet, and off to the right there is a long corridor that is probably one of the world's most interesting corridors, because imagine walking from Holiday Inn to Holiday Inn Express to Avid to Atwell to Staybridge to Candlewood, all in one hallway, right? Like, wouldn't you love to be the GM of that hallway, right, on any given night? But this allows us to not only get the prototypes right for owners, but also when owners are coming to see and invest in these brands. Imagine being able to go and see the latest and greatest from each of them in one space.
And I imagine that when you walk through these, you're like, you know what? This is not as different as we thought. Like, this looks a little bit like the other brand we just walked through, and let's change that up because it's starting to look a little bit the same.
It allows us to look at where there's similarities, but also where there's some shared pieces. So we also, if we think about it from an owner value perspective, how do we step back and say, if 4 of these brands need a counter height refrigerator, let's make sure from a procurement perspective, we're negotiating the exact same refrigerator for all brands and getting the best possible price for our owners. So you're also able to step across and look at where can we consolidate for our owners and negotiate even harder and even stronger. So this center is, we bring in colleagues from brand, architecture, food and beverage, across the gamut, working together in order to get the prototypes right, so that the first time we build it, we've actually probably turned that room 2 to 3 times. So the first time it's hitting the real, all of us know construction timelines they're longer, right? And if you don't get that right the first time, now we're starting on a new room, right? And that's several months down the road. We can turn these really quickly and iteratively. So we work in a real iterative parallel kind of process here. And then also this is where we bring our owner advisory board members in to kind of come and really push on things. So they will walk the spaces, the rooms, they will kick the tires on where do they see things that this operationally isn't going to work, or why are you using this material? Have you considered this? I mean, our owners are the ones building these hotels each and every single day, and the feedback that they give us us helps us to just really push on that build cost relentlessly. And so, that's how we attack these prototypes, is what is the lowest possible number? Where do we have to hit in order to make sure it delivers for the guest, but also for that owner? And then that's then what the team has as a marching order. So that is your budget. It's not like a home renovation where you can say, well, we'll spend a little bit more on the counter. And what if we add this over here? You have a number. We got to thread that needle in order to make sure this works for our owners now more than ever, right? The build cost is just hugely important. So,
Karen, you just gave a master's class for these young students that don't understand, and you just pulled back the curtain and you showed the warehouse. You explained the warehouse. You explained the process. You explained the why the process. And literally in that 5-minute conversation, you gave a master's class. And a lot of people, I was probably 20 years into my career before I even knew this existed. And so you just really showed something and said something. I think, again, to me, this show is about education. So thank you for giving that, that tidbit of education. I think there's a lot of young managers that just went, wow, I didn't know that they did it that way.
Yeah. We've tried for years where you're putting prototypes in live hotels, but all of us who have run hotels and worked in hotels know it starts out as a good idea, and then it's, you have people doing construction at 3:00 in the morning. Guests are unhappy. You can't get in on certain days. The GM wants to sell the room. I get it. I'd want you to. So it drags a process even further out. And so we have found this to be the way in which, if we look at Avid, we were able to really concept and launch that brand in 6 months. And that was because we could keep working and grinding out what that needed to look like here, and do it in partnership with our owners. So it's invaluable, the feedback that the owners give us on how to get the costs in line to where they need to be. So that's the design center.
Let's take a look at the next slide. But Karen, before we get into this, one question is new construction, conversion opportunities. I think that's important to understand and frame the conversation.
Yeah, I think for Atwell Suites, we're focused. If I look at the 20 executed licenses to date, we have 2 properties that would be considered a conversion within that. The rest are new construction. So the prototype has been developed for new construction, but on a case-by-case basis, this is a great slide. Thank you. On a case-by-case basis, we will look at what a potential conversion opportunity looks like. That the box would have to be right, though, right? It would need to be able to fit the elements and components of that. So highly selective on looking at that. But if we look at our Miami project, it's a non-prototypical conversion in the fact that was being built as condominiums, and then the owner decided to change into a hotel. So they were building suites and residences that we were able to then change into an Atwell Suite. So it will deliver the design style and hallmarks of an Atwell Suites, but the physical outside of the building, as you can see, will look very different. So again, that Hotel Indigo will occupy the bottom floors, and where you see the break up top will be the Atwell Suites.
What I want to say is I saw that you have one of these going into Las Vegas. Your Staybridge Suites in Vegas was and maybe probably still is the #1 rated hotel in Las Vegas on TripAdvisor. I don't know if you knew that.
Wow.
In that market, and no, for a long time it was #1. And I've never made it over there. I've been invited several times to be over there. But to be in that market, that tells you the strength of IHG and the strength of that brand.
Yeah, I mean, the Staybridge brand is a loved brand, and we see that across the guests that stay at that price. So it does not surprise me that they would be hearing those accolades as well too. So, but we're excited by, if you can look at looking at the development map here. These are really great, strong markets that we're seeing interest in for Atwell Suites. We've got Austin, Texas. Kind of coming up, Denver. Charlotte. So these are great locations for us to get this brand out and get exposure into what that looks like.
I see you're even in Walmart, Arkansas.
Yeah, you got Bentonville. We also opened an Avid. We got an Avid out in Bentonville as well too. So there's definitely one client in town when you open in Bentonville, right? Make sure that you drop off some fruit and cookies for, right?
Right.
All right, so Dave, let's go back so we can take a look at some of the images of Atwell.
And if you want to do the tour right now, we can do it at this point.
Yeah, let's do the tour. Let's do it.
Dave,
let's switch it up.
Okay, cool. So we'll pull you into our virtual reality tour. And so pre-COVID, virtual reality was really important to us, but certainly now, if I think about our development team trying to help people understand when travel is a little bit more challenged in getting and coming and seeing things in our design center. But we actually use virtual reality throughout the development process. So as we're building the prototype, we are actually working to imagine it through VR, because we're able to solve a lot of the spatial challenges or push on the design even before we physically have built it out. So that's another way in which we're able to move these quite quickly. So
and Karen, let me also add that it's really important for the development community, because they're focused a lot of times on finance and they don't necessarily have the design and visual acuity to put all of those together. So when you take it off of having that little board with just the little colors and textures that you're going to be using and create something that's real, I think it helps people really understand and visualize what that product is going to be. And I've seen the ownership community feel more successful. Chris, you find that helps you out?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. This gives you a real sense of the space and a real sense of, I mean, in today's world, it's even more valuable than ever. But even before, like Karen was saying, being able to explore the space and get a sense of how you would feel involved in the space makes all the difference in the world from a design perspective.
Excellent, Karen.
Yeah, so we are entering as a guest into our Atwell Suites kind of space, and you can see the reception desk kind of up into the upper right there. And what you're also passing by is what we call our time for discovery experience kind of installation. And think about this as art, an interactive wall display that will be constantly moving and changing throughout the rhythm of the day. So we're really trying to create also things that give conversation and connections and different thought points for guests. As they approach the reception desk, what we're working on now is we know that these guests want flexibility and control. And so we're really looking to give guests options in the way in which they'll want to check into the hotel. So some guests will want a traditional hosted check-in. Some guests will want mobile check-in. I think we're seeing that now also in this post-COVID environment. How do I reduce some of my contact points across the experience? But you'll be able to see that guests will be able to kind of check in through that desk. If we move a little bit closer in by the reception desk, I'm acting like I'm moving it, but you know.
Before you get to the reception desk, I really want to go back real quick and look at that wall. I want to understand that wall because it's simple and it's fascinating to me, because that wall right now has a clock on it. So explain to me, what do you mean during the day it moves with you? Because that's a differentiation that I really want people to understand.
Yeah, and so if you think about when we're talking about the type of guest that wants to stay in Atwell Suites, this opportunity seeker, you know, we are looking to bring in a younger customer and demographic into the brand, though we've tested it across other demographics. But this guest, again, appreciates a sense of design style, discovery. They're looking for new things. And so we thought about how could you take really just traditional art and turn that into a more engaging, interactive kind of element within the hotel.
So that's a screen.
Yeah, and so it's a screen with a projector. And so what it will have is content that moves. So imagine every hour on the hour, something new visually is going to happen that's going to pull you in. You start to think over the course of my couple of days stay, maybe I see it once, maybe I see it twice, but knowing it's something different, it pulls me in different ways. It'll also have some info, you know, you can also lightly share what's happening in the bar that evening or something that's happening going on. So I
love that. I'm glad you explained that. Not to cut you off, but what I love about that is there's one brand that I walk into the elevators and I see the same face of the same little kid, and I love it the first time I see it, but I've seen it 100 times. So I love the fact that every hotel I go into, you know, in this collection, I'll see something different, and not only the first day, the second day, third day. So again, thank you for going back to that. I think that's a really important point. And for a second, I thought that that camera or that video was some kind of new HVAC system.
No. We're not trying to innovate in the HVAC world right now. We'll leave that to somebody else. But you know, this is just one way in which you also think about how do you if you're going to be a design-led brand that Atwell Suites absolutely is under the space, you want it to be moving and updating over time, right? And we know update and renovation cycles, those are multi-year. But this is something where you could be constantly feeding new and vibrancy into a space to really kind of bring it to life. So we're excited about that.
Excellent. Let's go to that next image.
Yeah, I think what you see off to the left is our refreshment stand. So if we look over there, this is also something, a bit of a surprise and delight. And so, we know that the guests will be using these public spaces, our flexible, enriching spaces throughout the day, coming down to do work, maybe connecting with others. This refreshment stand is complimentary beverages throughout the day. So bean to cup espresso coffee, still and sparkling water, some different add-ins, just things that help to activate the environment and make it feel like a space where they want to be. And we did this in Avid hotels also, to have the bean to cup coffee and the still and sparkling water. And it's really proven to be a real surprise and delight for our guests. And from a cost perspective, owners were putting out coffee and dumping coffee on different hours and things like that. Having it almost on demand, really from an efficiency perspective, works better and feels more like we're creating that space, that coffee shop space that somebody might want to come and involve and kind of stay in.
I'd also, I think,
feel
create
nickel
more
and
of a
dime.
detailed feeling for the guest and puts them more in control of stuff.
Yeah.
Anthony?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't feel nickel and dime. You don't go upstairs and
I hate that.
charge $75 for coffee or water. It's like, it's right. And even if you do, you can come down and get it for free here. So I love that.
Or from a sustainability perspective, fill your water bottle, bring it up to your room. Our guests are traveling with their own kind of pieces for that. So we're excited about how that's turned out. And then over off to the right-hand side is really where you see our food and beverage areas and zones come to life. So we'll try to get the VR moving over here. So this is the opposite side of the lobby that you would see. So this will certainly, and when we talk about our food and beverage, we call it golden hours food and beverage. So when the sun is coming up, you're absolutely going to get a great complimentary breakfast. You're going to have a couple of hot signature items and the cold staples that you need. You just imagine a sandwich, a small omelet to go. You've got, yogurts, et cetera. You've got those baked goods. But then in the evening, that can close off, and this space through lighting and sound can really activate into a bar. So it'll be a paid bar in the evening. Guests told us that in this space, a bar was important. They said, I don't need an extensive menu, but give me some craveable bites, some small plates I could put together. Imagine this is the group that's going to come down and have something to eat while they're deciding what restaurant they are going to go to. And then they're going to come back on the way after dinner and they're going to grab a drink before heading up to their room. But how does this space work? And then we also made our program from a beverage perspective. It's beer, wine, and ready-to-drink cocktails. So the ready-to-drink cocktail space has just exploded, even pre-COVID, around what's available and what that looks like. And from an owner's perspective, it really helps with cost control, serve safe, practices as well too. And then I can easily have somebody from the front desk float over and help in the bar when I'm not asking them to know how to create the perfect old fashioned, right? So you've got a different way to kind of bring that to life.
Hey, you had me at ready to drink.
Yeah.
Ready to drink.
You know what I love? You just solved so many issues for me because I'm the guy that checks in, sees that, orders something. I tell the person behind, give me the best signature cocktail you have. What do you want? I don't care. Just give it to me. Give me the best sandwich you have. I'll be down in 10 minutes to get it. I go upstairs. I unpack. I throw on my my sweatpants. I come down. I bring it upstairs, and I'm ready to go. And that is absolutely the environment. And then when I'm meeting my team downstairs, my production team, they're already at the bar. They're already hanging out, and it's just a comfortable environment. And so many people have gotten it wrong, and there's been so many iterations of it. And this is probably, I'm not saying because you're on the show, this is probably the best I've seen the way it's done, because it's not overcomplicated. It's not overly designed. It's simple, it's beautiful, and it's functional.
Well, thank you. The team has worked really hard to just around those guardrails, honestly, Anthony, that you just said. How do we make sure it looks good, it functions right, but operationally, can it be delivered? So again, if we think about, how we've built up the model working with our owners is this will probably run, it's a 96 room prototype. It's going to run with about 20 staff members. So, each person is going to have to know how to help in different areas. So you cannot overcomplicate the food and beverage operation, and just hearing from our owners every day. Right now, labor and training, right? Keeping staff and being able to train staff is just the hardest thing that we are hearing. And so from our knowledge, how do we look to help give the right tools, but just simplify where we can what we're trying to offer? So I think the team has just done an amazing job in bringing this kind of concept to life. So we're excited about what that looks like.
So let me get Chris in here. Chris, from your ownership point of view, how does this design work for you in wanting to make sure that you have the most efficient use of space possible?
Well, this goes back to what Karen was saying about how the brand listens to the ownership community about what we need. Right now, labor is the biggest issue in hospitality and will continue to be. And by creating cross-functional areas, and then, like she said, the ready-to-drink cocktails that are easy. Anybody can learn to pour a glass of wine, but making a Manhattan's tougher. But you can actually get great cocktails, believe it or not, in a can. They're really great. And so doing these type of things where people can float around the spaces really makes a difference to us and allows us to be hyper efficient operationally. The other thing that I love about this is with the screen component is you can literally change the feel of the stay, not even during the day, but during the stay. Because to me, whenever I'm somewhere 6-8 days, I might love the hotel, but man, I get just kind of exhausted. This could be done seasonally. You could have regionally interesting art pieces that pop up. I mean, it just would create a stay that's much more interesting and not so sterile, I would say. I love it.
You know what it feels like? It feels like I'm staying at my rich uncle's house.
You're very popular, rich uncle, because he appears to have so many people coming over.
90 bedrooms. Yeah.
Exactly, Chris. It's like if we think about from a design perspective, we want people to enter the space and they just see layered patterns, textures, color, sound, light. How are we using all of those elements to make this feel premium and make them feel, that design-led aesthetic? So I love that you've picked up on really what the team's intent was. I think they've knocked it out of the park.
And honestly, I mean, if you take out some of that furniture, right, just take out some of it and leave some of it, it feels like those houses you see in California where you see the celebrities walking through their kitchen, and like it really feels that. It feels open and feels airy, and it feels without being overwhelming. So really well done.
Well, if you like this, then you are just going to go gaga when we go up to the second floor. So
let's do that.
Yeah, let's try to get over the second floor, which is
because we're already starting to get really late, and I want to be able to make sure we see all of this.
So going up into the second floor, and so this is also really unique to have a 2-store lobby, kind of within this price point. So we worked really closely with the owners to understand engineering wise and where would you put the columns and what's the way that you could do this to keep the cost down, right? But what it delivers is such a unique and brand defining kind of space. So we call this area the Commons up on the second floor. So it's giving other spaces for guests to come together, to do some work, bring up a drink or food. You've got those.
Oh, I love that.
We call those the foam booths over there. So you got sound dampening.
I like the ones for the single people.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So you
knew COVID was going to happen because those are perfect COVID booths.
No, they just knew I don't have any friends.
Yeah, you're right. Everybody's got a different set that they bring with them, so that's okay. But, so up here, you've got great spaces. We can also activate these spaces. So imagine we'll be putting on, different experiential activations, a movie night, a mini master's class on making a drink. You could really use this over time in different ways. And you've got a small bookable meeting room off to the left there that the owner can also use for some additional revenue generating, as we see a lot of this. This is all taking a lot of direction to your guys' point. You're way smarter than I that you already picked up co-working spaces. That trend is not going to change as we kind of come back after, kind of through COVID. And so really making sure these spaces work. I've got power, I've got access, and then just interesting art and design, things that just make me discover little nods or little curious pieces throughout the space is really the intent there.
I'm telling you, I'm freaking out because as I'm looking at this space, when my crew and I travel, like this space could be like, okay, the camera crew's there, the production crew's there, like, and then we can have our own little executive meeting when we're talking about the producers. and it's really like, I'm really like, it's emotional to me. It's like exciting. The one thing I have to ask you though, like I get the value of this and I see it and I'm like, I want to buy one of these brands right now, but how do you convince an owner that this space is important and we don't need to put 3 hotel rooms in here? Because they're going to look at that space and go, I want 3 more hotel rooms.
So, to your point, we've done the work with the owners, and we actually worked it through with the owner advisory board to do the numbers. Let's crunch the math. So we actually went to general contractors and priced this thing out and figured out. So if you move to a 1-story lobby configuration, you really only pick up one room based on the way in which we're laying this out. But I will actually say the proof is seeing it. When owners came to our design center and saw, we have them laid out. Obviously, we couldn't build it 2-story in the warehouse. When they saw this space, they were sold. They understood that this is actually, when I'm trying to get guests staying in there, that this is actually going to help me drive a better experience, certainly for groups and things like that. So we really haven't seen a ton of that tremendous push that you might think, but we did the exercise, right? Because we knew that was going to be the question. So what's the
Karen,
it's like the
also
private
revenue generating space because people are going to be buying drinks.
Yeah. So you get some more space from that. So
it's like a private club in an airport,
Yes.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice. I've talked to you guys before about that. I talk about hospitality as making magic. And Anthony, you talk to the younger generation that's watching right now. But this is how the brands help us operators make magic. The stuff that's intuitive, that's behind the scenes, that's so well thought out, that allows us to deliver impeccable service with either reduced staff levels or more technology touch points. This is everything that goes into great hospitality when you experience it, but you really don't know until you talk to a pro like Karen and the team over at IHG what goes into making that experience so seamless. It's not just the people at the desk. It's all the way from pre-design to how the brand speaks to the marketplace to how it looks like this and how it works, and you live in it. And then once you know it and you feel it, this is why people get attached to brands, is because they're like, oh, I need that common space. And Anthony, I don't have near the crew you do, but if I did, I think I would like that upper space to hang out with my producers and whatever else we get. But,
I think you're talking down to me, Chris.
no, I'm not.
No, he's talking up to you since he's on the second floor.
No, you know what? Because typically when I travel with business, I'm by myself, right? So this space, I would go and hide in the corner somewhere, and I would use it, but I would use it very stealthily. Like I'd be like in and out, and you would never know, and it'd be great for me. But when I have like 10, 15, 18, 20 people, and we're all different personalities,
right,
this really helps all of us have our own space and workspace. And then when we want to come together, it's perfect. So, all right.
So speaking about own space, can we see a guest room?
Yeah, let's head over to one of the guest rooms. We'll take a look into the king. So there's 2 different room types. You've got a king room and you've got a double queen room. And the double queen room is 405 square feet. The king is 323. So you can kind of take a look at what this looks like now. And again, it was about giving flexibility within the suite for what that looks like. And so you've got a great little area over here where guests can, maybe I'm traveling with a colleague, we're coming in, we're doing some work together. You want to have that. That can also be a pull-out couch if that works for an owner scenario. And then also, as we talked about design, and they're looking for some of these little touch points across the guest experience, we've curated an art wall across the room. And so what you see on that wall, one of them, the black and white one, is actually a Morse code message. And each of them will vary by property. And also somewhere in the lobby, you've got a Morse code decoder. So it's one of those things where I might not pick up the first night that's Morse code. I might not even pick it up the second night. But over the course of your stay, you're engaging with all of these little small touches, kind of throughout the space that have been put into that. And
I love that.
You can see the desk. So we're calling it a desk, but what guests told us is, I need a desk space because I use it multifunctional, but I'm probably not sitting at a functional desk. And so we've taken the nod to, pre-COVID, the kitchen counter was working hard for us, but since COVID, the kitchen counter is really the unsung hero of most houses right now. And so, people are really using these spaces to work, to eat, to do different things. So you've got a great counter height, kind of terrazzo tabletop, good design kind of feel from that guests can use for work. It's got power, it's got all that connectivity, a premium sleep experience. That's critical. I've got to have a great night's sleep. And so they're getting best in class that way across that bed. And then we talk about it being suites. Let's look at the other.
Wait, hold on. Before we move on to another portion of the room, the chat rooms are going crazy for the LVT flooring. Nobody likes carpet anymore. Maybe you can comment on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, of course, as we look forward about cleanliness, and this was pre-COVID, but what we're really just seeing from a cleanliness perspective is guests are saying, I want to feel and know that you are able to get these surfaces clean. And then also from an owner perspective, owner said just operationally, this is easier for my teams. I can take care of it over time. And then from a design perspective, I think it just absolutely works very hard for the room as well too. So you can see you've got great TV, 55-inch TV that's happening there. And then on the other side, from a wet bar perspective, so we talked about this being kind of hybrid. It's not extended stay, it's longer stay. So for 4 to 6 nights, what guests were telling us is, look, I'm not cooking in my room. I'm not looking for you to provide me a full kitchen. I need a place to store some snacks, a couple drinks, maybe leftovers from going out. So give me a counter height fridge, a microwave, a Keurig coffee maker. You've got a small hand sink as well too, but that's what I need. They're not looking to recreate home like some of our extended stay guests are looking for. These guys are looking for the comforts of home, but not truly replicating it. And you got the open closet. If we open up that, the closet is actually a really unique design feature where it opens into the guest room, but it also opens into the bathroom on the other side. So you're allowing guests, when you have multiple guests in the room, folks can be accessing what they need from inside the guest room space, but also if I'm getting ready in the bathroom, I can also, get to that.
Karen, I think I love you.
Oh,
you know how many times I have to leave to go to the closet across the room to get what I was looking for? I forgot my socks or whatever. And oh my God, I fell in love.
Yeah. We had long conversations again when we debate everything when our owners come in to look at this. And we had a really fun conversation where an owner saying, well, what if I'm out here and I don't want the person in there to open the door? And we had to go through this whole conversation of like, I hope the other person in the room is someone you wouldn't mind opening the door, right? It was like, these aren't strangers that are out in the other part of the room. So it was a funny conversation with our owners when we all kind of dawned on, yeah, I guess you're right. We'd be okay with anybody opening the door on either side.
Right. Yeah. One of the things I want to do is you can give a shot of the room with the lighting and stuff. I want to explain from a construction standpoint and saving cost, the things like just looking at, like, stay right there, like on that shot. When you look at that shot, tell the audience the one cost saving. I see it, and hopefully we're seeing the same thing. The cost saving from a construction standpoint that is simple. It looks great in the room, but it saves a lot of money on construction.
Well, I think what you might be talking about is one, I think the LVT overall long-term is something that will help with that. But I think some of the integrated power from the construction side, what we've done there is try to integrate it in the right spaces that it can evolve, it can update over time, but it's put into the right places. So right near your headboard, you've got it right down near the desk. It's kind of below that terrazzo table. But what we're not putting is something on top of the table that might be outdated in a year or two as technology changes. So
I like the wiring is not in the wall.
Yeah.
You can renovate that room basically in a night. Because you can
they've done that on Hotel Impossible.
Right. Yeah, we have hundreds of times. Yeah. But I love that it's not built into the wall. You can change that and put it anywhere in the room.
Yeah. So flexibility across that is a huge piece. So while we're building the prototype, we're also having questions about what's going to happen 7-8 years from now and what will we need to do with this? Because our owners, these are long-term investments for most of our owners. This is not folks that are purchasing this to turn that asset quite quickly. And so, having the conversation now, might feel funny. We haven't even built the first one. What's it going to take to renovate it? But you want to be thinking about, have we made the right decisions now that are going to set that up for a good renovation?
Well, I'll tell you what's amazing is how real it looks, even though it's virtual. But Chris, I got to ask you, what is it that, as somebody who manages properties, that intrigues you most about this particular design?
I think it's the functionality of the room. I mean, that's what you're seeing. And honestly, the ease of, Anthony kind of called it out. I mean, you've always got to think about how you're going to maintain the room. These are going to be high occupancy hotels. When we get back to high occupancy, they're going to be travelers staying for multiple nights. You want to make sure that everything is not going to get beaten up. And if it does, what's the ease of maintaining it as you go forward? So the surfaces that are created are super important. I love the desk chair, how the arms go below the desk table. I frankly work at a dining table instead of a desk. I think that's the way things are going nowadays. So, but as I'm looking at this room, to your point, it's got paint on the walls. It's super crisp, but you could take the room down, renovate it, and put it back together in a very brief time. So overall cost of ownership really excites me about this brand. And frankly, with the added benefits of a great room and then a great public space and a bar. When Atwell did what they did with the bar, that's when I remember at the conference we were looking at it, and I said, this is going to really hit hard because they've minimized the F&B with the golden hours, but they've maximized the profitability side by having great beverage service, which, as we all know, hoteliers, we can drive a lot of volume, and beverage is hot. So I love this brand. I really do. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to do one here soon.
And thank you for the ottoman in the room. I'm an ottoman in the room kind of person. So thank you very much.
Yeah, so we're excited about it. We're all kind of done through the tour here. There's certainly, if you go to atwellsuites.com, you can play around on this anytime you want. Anybody who's listening in as well too, who wasn't able to see that, if you go to atwellsuites.com, you can get to our virtual reality and kind of take the tour yourself as well.
Before we wrap up with you, Karen, I'd feel like a fool if we didn't spend a couple of minutes talking about Avid, the other brand that you're in charge of. Maybe you could give us a quick update on what's going on over there.
Yeah, we're excited, excited and encouraged about the momentum that we have seen with Avid Hotels. Launched it in 2017. We built our first property in 2018. That's an owner calling me right now. I'll call you back after. We
bring him on the air.
It's the owner of the first Avid, which is the weird thing that happened here. You know what I mean? As I talked about it, the phone.
Explain what Avid is for those of us that maybe not know the brand. Explain exactly where it falls.
Yeah, so Avid is our lower mid-scale brand. So this sits, think about it right below Holiday Inn Express in that lower mid-scale space. And this was for guests that were telling us for 1 to 2 nights. This is transient travel, 1 to 2 nights. I want a hotel that just delivers the basics, done exceptionally well at a fair price. And I don't feel like I should need to pay more for services or amenities that I'm just not going to use on that type of stay. And so, we did a ton of research with that customer as well too. And even pre-COVID, this was all pre-COVID, but this was a guest, if you think about the lower mid-scale space, where they just said, my hotel options, some are good, some are not so good. I want a consistent experience, clean, safe, reliable, and that is what Avid Hotels delivers. So from day one, we have had a relentless focus on cleanliness. So we had our Avid Guarantee, which has evolved into the IHG Clean Promise, which actually now sits across all of our brands, about how we guarantee when you get to your room, if it is not to your cleanliness standards, you need to let us know and we will make it right. That was in the DNA from day one, and now more than ever is resonating. So great night's sleep, clean, high quality, focused breakfast, technology that works, and we keep doing that. And so what we've got right now, over 200 in the pipeline. We have 21 hotels open to date. We actually opened 5 in the past 30 days. So we've got Boston Logan Airport, Stanton, Virginia came online, Madison, Alabama. We've also got existing properties at Orlando Airport, out in Oklahoma City, Denver. And so we're starting to see that map really grow for the Avid Hotels brand. And we really do see this as IHG's next scale brand. So where we see a Holiday Inn Express working, we see that an Avid hotel could be working too. So
that's really exciting. The brand sounds exciting, but what really is exciting is another teachable moment. You're on this live with us, and you're in charge of these 2 brands. You're a big shot. You're a VP, and an owner's calling you directly on his cell phone. And I love that. There's no levels there. There's no layers. It's like the owner calls the person that's running the brands on their cell phone. That's what people, like 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that didn't exist.
Yeah, it's my DNA as well too. I'm heavily relationships driven as a person myself, but I find that you get a lot more done through a conversation than a ton of emails. And now more than ever, staying connected to our owners and what's happening on the ground, so that we can make sure that we are continuing to help them. This is, make no bones about it. This is a challenging time, and these owners opening a hotel into this environment and breaking ground. We just broke ground on another hotel last week. And so there is good momentum that is happening with this, but we want them to know that we are behind them. We fully support them, and we are doing everything we can to make sure that the products we're delivering for them are going to help them make more money and help them make sure their guests and teams are safe.
And you're in a hyper competitive business. I mean, your competitors, I mean, they're literally outside your door waiting to see where that owner's going next and to basically go have breakfast with them. I've seen it myself in the lobby of a hotel I ran. Literally, someone came and took another hotel out of somebody else's hands just by being in the lobby and looking at that owner when he got up from a meeting. So it's hyper competitive. So if you're not taking those phone calls, somebody else is.
Yeah. And our development team, I can't speak highly enough for what our development team has done. And even this year, as challenging as been, 260 deals that have been signed this year. So it's almost a deal a day, even through this. In our openings team, I can't talk about that group enough either. Opening hotels through this pandemic, 80 new hotels that have come online. And so everybody's working hard. I think what it shows is that all of us, I'm 20 years in this, it's in my blood, it's my DNA. Hospitality absolutely will come back. This is a long, enduring part of everyone's DNA. And these are investments for the future. And so how do we set people right for that recovery as we get through Chris, I wrote that down, what you call 2020 and a half, as we get through that time period, we want to make sure as guests are traveling more, that they feel safe and confident in booking an IHG hotel, and also that our owners feel supported through that process as well too.
All right, so Chris, I know you're going to have to get going. We're going to get to Manisha's question in just 1 second. Any final thoughts that you have, Mike, Chris, so you could get onto your CEO?
I'm going to take a different angle. I've watched Karen's career grow for the 20 years. I've known her since way back when, and listening to her today, I'm so impressed, Karen, with what you've done. And all you guys in hospitality out there, this is the kind of thing you can do when you have the energy and excitement and love what you do. Karen's a shining example of it, and they're lucky to have her over there. So that's what I want to use my time for today, guys.
Thank you, Chris.
Chris, truly, I appreciate you saying that. And right back, I've learned so much from you over these years as well, too. So I appreciate you saying that.
Chris, I learned 2020 and a half. So on New Year's Eve, I'm not going to say happy New Year. I'm going to say happy 2020 and a half.
Listen, the reason I want to do it, people are probably like, oh, I don't want any more 2020. But here's the deal. I want to celebrate in 21. And I'm not sure it's going to be super celebrational until April or so.
What you just said, I agree with. 2020 and a half, here we come.
All right. Chris, thanks a lot. Have a good day.
Guys.
Take care.
I want to echo what he said. Your passion and you being able to articulate the brand and working in a corporation and working within the rules and the structure of a corporation could kill somebody. I'll be honest with you. It's really, really stressful. And then you still have this passion that you just walked in yesterday and you still love IHG and you still love working there. Tells you everything you need to know about IHG, but also tells about the love of what you have. You're literally coming through the screen with your passion for this company, for this brand.
Yeah, I'm sorry if it's too much, but I truly am.
No, we love it.
Not enough. I want more.
I could talk about these brands and this all day, but honest to God, it's a team of people that I get the honor to lead on a day-to-day basis that have just absolutely best in the business and have crushed it with these two brands. And I'm proud of the work that they do every day to stay owner focused and guest focused. Like every single question that they're asking is kind of based in that. But yeah, it doesn't feel like work when you love it. And hospitality has been mine. I started at a Holiday Inn front desk when I was 15. So it's kind of in my DNA that this is kind of the space for me. So when we think about, we've seen a lot of different cycles and things like that, but we all know that hospitality is here. It's for forever. It's just going to be a journey for us to get there, right?
Right. So Karen, we got to bring up this one more question from Anish Patel. He's a property owner. Looks great. What's the average cost to build of an Atwell? And before you answer that question, a little context for people. It's not the exact cost. That'll depend on where you are in the country, and it also never includes land costs. Okay, so
And I'll be surprised if she actually answers that question. I don't think that's a
No,
question.
she will. It's public information.
Yeah. I mean, we're 105 to 115 per key is the targeted build cost for that. Again, thank you, Glenn, for the disclaimer, certain things, but that is what we have built up. And what we do, we have a bottoms up build cost model down to every single stud, nail, stapler at the front desk. Like, our team has built up from the base every decision we've made so that we can have confidence to say that following this prototype, buying these products, doing these things, this should be your all-in build costs. And so we work closely in that range. So 105 to 115.
And on the other end?
Avid would be 85 to 89. So it's
cool. And then when Atwell opens, what do you expect the ADR kind of to come in at, so people can understand how that relates to the cost of the rooms?
Yeah, and that's a tough one to say because it's so market specific. So again, it's
I know it's almost an unfair question.
You know, upper mid scale price range is where we would see that. I mean, obviously Miami, being the first market, is going to look very different as well too. But we have kind of looked at it in that upper mid scale.
True. And to be fair, I've paid $400 a night for an average select service hotel, and for the same brand somewhere else at a different time of year, maybe $89 a night. All right, excellent. Anthony, any more questions for our amazing Karen guest?
Karen, just an absolute pleasure and an honor to be in the same business as you. And I know, people think that you've come to this position. You all of a sudden you were born into it. What was your first job in IHG?
My first job at IHG out of school, I was very lucky in that I was the training manager at the InterContinental Park Lane in London.
Oh, wow.
So I actually started in the UK and spent a couple years, and then is when I moved to New York to work at the Crowne Plaza on Times Square. So right across from where Anthony was the GM. I spent a great 5 years there. I learned everything you need to know about life and hotels in that 5-year period.
Do you know Pezzo? Do you know Director of Security Pezzo?
No,
guy?
No,
Okay.
no, not that name, but
But anyway,
a lot of people.
In that hotel, if you ever want a learning ground for the hotel business, there's almost no hotel in America that's a better learning ground than the Crowne Plaza, Times Square.
Yeah, it was a wonderful time, wonderful property, and then I moved to the corporate office after that. But I've spent some time in a couple different functions, but definitely somehow have made it here today to the best job in the company, and so I'm excited and honored to do that.
All right, well, be sure not to tell Ellie that you have the best job in the company. Excellent. Karen, how can people learn more about your two brands if they want to make an investment in them?
I will. First of all, you can reach out to me directly, and I can get you in touch with anyone that you need to talk about. So Karen.Gilbride@ihg.com. But please go to ihg.com, also Atwell Suites or avidhotels.com. Any of those channels. But definitely, if you reach out, happy to get you in touch, and would love to have that conversation and get you in touch with that team.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here, Karen. We really appreciate you.
Oh, me too. Thank you so much, guys. Happy holiday season.
Happy holidays to you too. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, that was great. I love that we get to see hotels virtually from wherever we are in the world, Anthony.
I hope people recognize her power. I hope people recognize her spirit. And I hope people recognize how intelligent that young lady is, that executive is, that VP is. She is going to be running the brands, whether it be IHG or another brand one day, because there is just so much power in that person. And you can learn if you ever have if you're ever lucky enough to work around her, and I've never worked with her, I would imagine you learn more in one day than you learn in a year around most people. And she's transparent, she's smart, and it just inspires me to have someone like that in our business. Yeah,
absolutely incredible. I have some cheap joke to make, but I'm not going to make it. What the hell? I'm feeling the holiday spirit in me. Hey, everybody, have a happy Hanukkah out there if you celebrate the Jewish religion. If not, I hope you all had a good Diwali last month if you celebrate that. And I look forward to you getting to celebrate Christmas with your family later this month, Anthony.
All right, my brother. You too. Happy Hanukkah, and take us out.
All right. So because it is the Festival of Lights, I would like to say that you are all vibrating with love and light. Remember, you've got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
See you all next week.